So hey there. I had posted a couple of days ago that I was going to make a presentation or a video concerning, what I had to go through for my latest healing, and God had told me to document it, and so I did, and it's pretty intense, but an awesome story, and it's gonna get funny, but it's gonna get a little serious as well. And I've got some Bible verses that can go with it, and a little bit of knowledge that I needed to learn for myself to understand, some things that I had gone through during that time. It does involve, my marriage to CEO, as well as, the whole thing. It just got very dramatic. I'm not gonna lie, it got very dramatic. So hang on to your seat. And this might take a video or two. I'm not really sure. We're gonna see how long it runs. So I'll jump right into it. So as many of you know, we posted that we had gotten married August 25th of last year. And I stayed on the truck for a little bit, and my husband kind of jumped on and off with me. He went out a couple times with me. We went up to Seattle, and we went over to Denver, and we kind of just hung out on the truck for a little bit while I worked, and just kept it going, and it was pretty cool. I really liked the Seattle trip. That was my favorite. He was a freaking awesome host when I wasn't at work, and made sure we had what we needed, and it just went really well. I was happy with it. So we get home, I go ahead and quit my job with Pride, and we decide I need to take a day job and get do day cab. And so I had a couple of offers by the time I got off the truck, and thought I was just going to take a week off and jump right back into work, kind of put our house together, put our apartment together, and get some things done. And then we would, I would start back to work, and we would get things going again. And that is not what happened. There was huge surprises and huge things in store for us that we did not foresee, and just totally ended up sideswiping us, blindsiding us, and putting us both in a loop that we did not ask for, and we didn't understand at the time, and I had to really make sense. It really sent me, I can't tell you what it did to CEO, because he has his own story and his own side to this. I can only tell you my side, and I can only tell you what I went through. And if you're brave enough to ask him, you go for it. Anyway, so I get off the truck, and CEO's taking me to all these different places, making sure, because he knows his way around Reno. So we're going different places, trying to get my Social Security card changed, trying to get my license changed over. I've got a CDL, making sure everything is in order. I can't get a job until this stuff is done. That was one of the reasons I took a week off too, is to get all my stuff done so I could just jump into work and I could take on his name. Well, we ran in like a brick wall. We go to the CDL driver's license place in Reno, and they inform me, I take them my paperwork, take them what I need, and they inform me I can't change my name into his legally. And the reason being is because my mom illegally changed my name as a teenager, when I was 15, early 16. It was right before I had met CEO the first time. And don't ask me why she did it. I don't know. I've been asked that question. Why would she do that? I don't know. She was mad at my dad? Didn't want me having his last name? I don't know. I can't tell you. And she's gone. She's been gone for a few years now. She's passed away. So she's not here. I can't tell you why my mom did something like this. Anyways, I had changed my name according to the marriage, my first and second. Yeah, I did it. And I had been changing my name fine. I had been doing everything and never had a problem. Well, apparently, with all these new changes in immigration or whatever, they're tracing everybody back to their lineage, and your name from the time you're born and your birth certificate has to line up every single time you change your name. Mine didn't. I could not go back to birth. It stopped right there because it wasn't legally done. She simply changed my school records and my social security number. And it threw up a huge red flag. And I said, can I at least get my, a license for the state of Nevada so I can stay in Nevada and work? The answer was no. They were not going to let me have a Nevada license under any circumstances unless I provided this documentation that I did not have. Okay, so triggered some things. Like, me and Theo literally lost our stuff. We did, I'm not going to lie. Being in our mid-50s and getting married, it was already a huge step for us. And me being single for almost a decade, him, almost as long as well. I was single a little bit longer than he was, and alone a little bit longer than he was, but he was still for years single. And both of us having some serious, we were both waiting for the other shoe to fall, and it did. This was it. And I legally couldn't work in Reno. I legally could not work in the state of Nevada. I couldn't work legally anywhere but Florida, because that's my Florida license. I couldn't get a day job in Reno because you have to provide documentation of the state you're working in, or you have to provide it in a certain amount of time. So what ended up happening was I had to go and get I went ahead and moved back to Florida without Theo. It was one of those things, like, you just are caught off guard, and I was making moves. I wasn't even giving him a chance to catch up with what was going on. I'm a single mom. I've been in all these circumstances. I just move. This has been my life forever. I always have to just be ready for that other boot to fall, and this is what we do, and we don't let it really influence. Like, I can move, and it doesn't even look like anything's phasing me, because I've been through so many circumstances. It can look like I'm heartless. It can look like she just left. And it's just because I'm used to working really quickly. I've had to survive. So anyways, that is what happened and how I ended up back in Florida. I had to be back at work. I had to pay my bills. I had to be able to function and live. And me and Theo weren't to the place yet where I felt comfortable just living. We were married, but there wasn't the comfort level there yet for me to feel comfortable living off his income. Okay, I couldn't pull my weight, and the only thing I knew is I had to get to a place where I could. I had to be able to support myself and keep it rolling. So that's what I did. That is the first part of what happened. And then what ended up, once I got to Florida, I got another job. I got on another truck moving out of Florida and just hopping in and out of Florida on the East Coast. Still on the road, but just regional on the east side of the country. And what ended up happening was, in order to get my name straightened out, I had to file for a divorce. I had to legally file and then go back to my maiden name. So when that happened, in that change, we weren't married a couple of months, and I was already having to file for divorce. No one really did anything wrong. Yes, we were fighting because we were newlyweds in our mid-50s. Everybody, when they first get together, has issues. Do I think they were serious enough to cause this? No. I was strictly having to go by legal access I had to do what was legally, according to the land, right. And then at the same time, it threw me in a tailspin, emotionally, spiritually, like in every sense of the word. Like, and it did CO2. And like I said, that's his story. That's his, like, you have to, in order to get his side and his version, you would have to talk to him. This is strictly me. So when we got to the other side of it, I ended up, like, God moved me. Like, I was like, Lord, how come all of this stuff keeps hitting me? Like, every time I make a move, like I said, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm waiting for something to go wrong. My past is going to kick me in the butt again. Whatever I went through in childhood, I'm in my 50s and I'm still being kicked in the butt by it. And the enemy just comes in anytime he wants to and disrupts my life when I'm trying to get it on track and I'm moving forward. So what ended up happening was I quit I had only been to work like 6 weeks, and God was talking to me about it being a really tough winter anyways, and kind of staying off the truck for a little bit for safety reasons. And me and CEO is kind of weird, because when me and CEO got married, he had kind of confirmed in my heart and said something about, do you feel like you're getting off the truck because something could happen this winter? I said, absolutely. Like, he just confirmed what I already knew. So once I moved to Florida, like, it was confirmed again, like God had put it in my heart, not this winter. Like, know your limitations, not just your limitations, but be safe. Like, what are you going to do if you hurt somebody or you hurt yourself? What is that going to look like for you for the rest of your life? So I did. I obeyed. And a sweet lady named Sandy Sibley just said, come over here, get some rest. I'm here if you need me. And so I did. I went and stayed with her for a few months, and really, like, God had me digging into some things from my past. Not that, like, these weren't even things that I did. They were things from my growing up years, from the time I was like 3 or 4 up until, mid-20s. I had to go back that far. And I was like, I was crying to Sandy a lot. And Sandy finally looked at me. We're sitting on her front porch one day, and I'm just sobbing. And she's like, Kim, get a counselor. This is above my pay grade as a friend. I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to get you from point A to point B. And I'm still praying, like, I'm still talking to God or everything. And that's when I sought out a counselor. And not just any counselor. She's a biblical one that was very prophetic in healing and deliverance. And so she's multifaceted, had a doctorate degree. And, so she knew her Bible inside and out, knew theology, was also used as a prophetic healer, just multifaceted. I had to have someone like that. I couldn't go to a normal counselor. Just won't work. So, and me and her dug in, and we started talking about timelines, how long it would take for me to make it through all of this stuff. And the timeline she gave just was not okay with me. It wasn't okay. I'm not saying she was wrong. I'm saying for me, it was not okay. And I went to prayer to God, and I said, no, I am not spending years trying to heal, keeping me from my calling, keeping me from moving forward, keeping me locked up so I can't function in relationships. I can't be who I need to be. So I Lord, we need to do something. And God tapped me on the shoulder and was kind of like, come away with me. And I'm like, where am I going to go? And he starts showing me San Diego, California. And that is where a lot of my stuff started. And so he kind of tapped on me for about a week. I had some funds, and I'll get into that, but I had some funds, and I just was like, what am I going to do here? And I'm off Facebook. I'm off any kind of social media because I really just need it to be me and God. I wasn't really talking to anybody at this point. Me and Theo were... It wasn't about saving my marriage at that point. It sounds really bad. It was not about saving that marriage at the point. It was about saving me. It was about saving my sanity. It was about saving my soul. It was about my relationship with God. So that's where I was at. And so he says, let's go to San Diego. Okay, so I spend about 3 days putting this trip together, and I'm just listening to God, and he's helping me plan it all out. And through all of it, like, God just became my source of energy, my source of healing, my source of being, getting me out of the mess that I had been in for literally 40 years, and bringing me to the other side. My counselor, I was gone for 2.5 weeks. This is a 2.5 week venture where I'm having to stay so close to God. I can hear him, like I'm on his chest, and I hear his heartbeat, and I have to follow him that closely. And I'm not giving you every single little detail, but I'm giving you enough that if God walks you through something, you can go, okay, because some things are so off-grid. They're off-grid, and they don't make sense. So I take off to California. I fly from Jacksonville to San Diego, and I'm in San Diego for 5 days. And during one of those days, I have to start visiting all my childhood homes. And I'm probably going to end up making a couple different videos from this one. I'm just going to kind of split it off, because each step has its own lesson and its own verse and its own work through. So it ended up, I'm going to do that. So it took 2.5 weeks. I started in California. I had to drive up to Oceanside. God would not let me spend the night in Oceanside. He said it was a 1-day trip. We were going to drive up there. I rented a car. We're going to drive up there. We're going to do what has to be done. And then we're going to go back to San Diego, which I did. And I ended up flying and hopping literally all the way from San Diego up to Redding, California. And that is kind of what happened in the version. And then, I pit stopped in Las Vegas for a couple of days, and then I came back to Jacksonville. So that is the beginning. And like I said, I'm going to have to break off because this video is already 18 minutes and I just touched on, that's just skimming over the whole thing. It's not even really getting into the healing part at all. So I'm going to go ahead and end this one, and we're going to continue step by step. It's going to take probably, I don't even want to say how many videos, because each part had its own step. And there's a story and there's verses behind each one. So I'm just going to end it here, and I hope you follow along and you continue.